Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you today about Asteya. Asteya is a Sanskrit word that means basically respecting boundaries or consent in English. Asteya is the third of the Yamas that are mentioned in this book by Patanjali, commentary by my teacher, Swami Satchidananda. And Asteya is first mentioned in Book 2. There are 4 books in the Yoga Sutras. So Book 2, Sutra 29. So if you're curious about Asteya and you want to know more after this video, go ahead and check out that book. Asteya is basically, like I said, respecting boundaries. So Asteya is about learning to be comfortable saying no and feeling empowered to say no, and being respectful for the no's of others and being respectful of others' right to say no. Now, if you are in conversation with anyone these days about consent, it's a big topic, you may or may not recall that silence means no in the field of consent. Maybe means no in the field of consent. And no means no. So only when you get a firm yes does that actually mean yes. This is so important in our relationships with others. Many times people don't feel empowered to say no, or they feel required to be accommodating to keep the peace in their home or in their relationships. And Asteya is about the empowerment and the right to say no and to be respectful when others say no. Some people have the other problem where they tend to bully people into whatever it is they want them to agree to, or they use manipulation or guilt to try and coerce them into other people into behaving the way that they want them to. So bullying, manipulation, guilt tripping are not in alignment with Asteya. Asteya is about grace and moving through life honoring the boundaries of ourselves and others. So as you can see, Asteya is about that level of identification, that personal I level, that dualistic level, right? The level of duality or personal I, where you believe you are a separate self, and others believe themselves to be separate selves, and therefore we react and respond in relationship to others in a way that is respectful and honoring their wishes and their opinions and their rights. I'm sure that you can imagine that if suddenly in this moment all 8 billion, approximately 8 billion human beings on the planet suddenly decided that they were going to adhere to the practice of Asteya and that they were going to commit to respecting other people's boundaries and to asserting their own boundaries and being comfortable with that, that could end a lot of conflict that we're having in the world today. Our planet is incredibly small. We are even smaller. But our planet is very small. And we are sharing this space with approximately 8 billion other human beings who have various opinions, needs, desires. And if we learn to assert our own reasonable boundaries without being greedy, I don't know if you've heard my talks before, but the yamas, the 5 yamas, are ahimsa, non-harming, satya, truthfulness, asteya, respecting boundaries, brahmacharya, continence or moderation, and aparigraha, sharing your abundance and not hoarding more than you need, not keeping more than you need. So we also have to, with regard to boundaries, be reasonable with respect to keeping what we need so that we can thrive, but sharing our abundance with others who are in need. So it's not setting a boundary so I, am going to take more than my fair share, and I'm not going to let anybody in my corner of the sandbox, and I'm going to take 75% of the sandbox for me. So it's not that kind of attitude, but understanding that I have the right, if there are 5 children playing in the sandbox, I have a right to 1/5 of the sandbox to play in, and that's okay. When we are caregivers, and when we are used to serving others and sacrificing our own needs for the sake of others, so coming from a selfless place, a healthy selfless place, although sometimes an overly selfless place where we forget to save a little bit for ourselves, when we come from a place of selflessness and caring, there are times where we say yes to others, which then becomes a no to us. So in regards to Asteya, I'm hoping that you will remember that all human beings are equally valuable. We are all equally important and valuable. And that includes us. So if by saying yes to another, you are saying no to a need that you have, that is not the harmony of Asteya. Asteya is about balance, taking what you need to sustain yourself and to thrive, but not taking that from others. In this version of the Yoga Sutras, again by my teacher Sri Swami Satchidananda, he talks about Asteya in terms of non-stealing, because that's one aspect of respecting boundaries that's very easy to understand and convey. We do not have the right to take things that are not ours. We don't have the right to take other people's knowledge, their time, their energy, their resources. We don't have the right. And they do not have the right to take ours without our permission. And if they ask, we have the right to say yes or no. So you can see how if you adhere to the principles of Asteya, you can create greater harmony in your relationships and within yourself. There's less drama in your own life. This might be uncomfortable for people who are used to you being a pushover, or used to being someone that they can use, or used to being someone that they walk all over. This can be confusing if you adopt a habit of Asteya where you start to be comfortable saying no for yourself. It can also be uncomfortable if you have a pattern of forcing people to do things against their will, or attempting to use your intellect or your verbal skills to manipulate people into doing things that you want them to do. Or if you use the emotional technique of guilt and shame to manipulate people into doing what you want them to do. You can see how this might be a problem. So, learning to stay respectful, learning to feel empowered. Everybody wins if we each practice Asteya or respecting boundaries. We walk within the path that is our own, and we allow others to walk within the path that is their own, even if our paths are parallel and walking next to each other. So I encourage you to feel empowered, to be clear about your own boundaries, and to become very comfortable saying no. And I encourage you to learn the sensitivity and the skills to be able to hear someone else's no, even if it's a silence or a maybe, so that no one's boundaries need to be stepped over, and that we can all cooperate and collaborate in a way that's consensual. Thank you so much. Enjoy practicing Asteya, even if it's just for today. I'll end with a short prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the entire creation be filled with peace and joy, love and light.